Good evening. How are you today? Well, it's about 60. It's not bad. I'm getting out a little late. I have a deposition on Monday, and I was organizing some things, so I lost track of time a little bit. It's another day in which things are going on, and I'll try to avoid the most frequently visited topics and ask the question, what would you expect a white supremacist position to be on Jews? Now, would it be a wild guess to say we could expect anti-Semitism? Well, let's move up to Pennsylvania for this one. Not that it's the only place in America where Republicans are going off the road. We have Doug Mastriano, who's running under the GOP flag to become the governor of Pennsylvania, and the Democratic favorite, in my opinion, is Josh Shapiro. And we have Mastriani going around talking anti-Semitism. These people who used to whisper their prejudices, now they feel very comfortable going out and saying the most insane thing, particularly if it's led by the Orange Menace. Oops, I mentioned his, well, I didn't say his name, but you know who I mean, right? So Shapiro's pushing back. We're going to find out a lot about the voters, even though I expect the Republicans to be playing some dirty tricks that do not show honor for the grand old party. And coming from New York, I saw Republicans do some good things under Rockefeller, and we had some people, I guess because of the influence of the voters, to try to serve the voters rather than try to serve some partisan ideology. Of course, they did that too, but it was a different time. I mean, even Nixon, when you think about it, with the EPA and the Administrative Procedure Act, and a number of the things he did didn't fit anything like the Republican Party that we suffer today. So I wonder if we could learn anything from the U.S. and Russian defense meeting. They haven't had a meeting since May, and they're going to have one. Now, I don't think it's going to break out in a fist fight, but it's curious if they get along. Somebody should go and study that, because it'd be really interesting to see how we can get everybody else to go along. My prediction, they can't go along. They're just going to posture and pose and try to collect information from each other. And there's a story that Putin thinks we should be talking about nuclear weapons. We should be putting that on the table. So I assume that's a dose of his insanity, extreme tactics, the danger of mentioning something that maybe you won't do, but because you mention it, you scare people to think that you will do it. The mad approach for most of our lives, which is mutually assured destruction, MAD, doesn't seem to be the policy anymore. That is to say that we are so paralyzed by what would happen if somebody started a nuclear war that it's not on the table. But Putin's put it back on the table. And, after he served up he who would be obeyed, who's a fascist, who's no longer president, what could possibly surprise us? Now, all those kids out there who are no longer kids, who are trying to pay off student loans, and, there are 6 states that just don't think that program should go forward. Now, let me rush to say a federal district judge appointed by Bush said that there's nothing wrong with the program, number one. However, the states are seeking to have a stay of that decision while they try to get it reviewed by the Supreme Court. Now, here's another surprise for you. Wisconsin was one of the states, and they asked for a pause, and she wouldn't grant it. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know if it's encouraging. You get a discrete example of sanity in a sea of insanity. So that's one of the things that we're thinking about these days. Well, my devotion to pigs. We have 24. They're a rescue. We don't eat them. They're pets. We've saved them. The house is full, so to speak, in the sense that in our yard, we can't manage all the other things we're doing and any more pigs. But we, as I've said before, we enjoy their little pigonalities. So there is a connection between my affection for pigs that I don't eat. I'm a vegetarian, approaching veganhood. And it is that California has staked out a position that pig products will not be devoured in California unless there is a certification that the pig has a 24-foot square place to roam around. Roam is the wrong word. These pigs are barely able to move in many of the pig farms, if you will, pork farms. And so what happens is, well, it's terrible, it's cruel. Now, one could get into a philosophic debate, if I were still being trained by Jesuits. They might bring it up, who knows. We had some pretty interesting teachers in my high school days especially. And these Californians really think we should not be cruel to animals, but we can't kill them and then eat them. It's a dialogue that doesn't have a lot of logic in it. You either think plant life or you think you're a carnivore. And I know a bunch of you out there are carnivores, and I used to kid my wife because when we met and I was the pure vegan vegetarian, she would occasionally eat meat. And over the years, especially after getting the animals we have, it's become an ethical question, not just a dietetic question in our household. And it's something you should explore because, frankly, it's better for you. My dad used to say that, well, until I left home, I thought all meat was cooked black. And my dad used to call them hockey pucks. And my mother thought it was funny, but there was no chance of trichinosis in our family when I was a kid and we were eating any pork. So here's the other kicker. The Washington Post is attacking California because they say, you know, they'd have to spend money to give more space to the pigs. In other words, it would cost to be humane. And because it costs, then we can't be humane. And California's wrong, even if the principle's right. And if we're going to abuse them during their lifetime, what does it matter when we eat them? Okay. I guess the Washington Post is pestered by businesses that say California is only one state. Well, maybe, but this is a country that is prepared to teach everybody else about ethics when it comes to individual civil liberties, and animals do have rights if we're a civilized society. Not that most people that we'd ask would say that. Hey, go ahead, ask your congressman. Don't you think animals have rights? No, they don't know. They don't have any time to know that. By the second or third term, they're hanging on white-knuckled to get reelected. Now, I thought we should finish up with another story of pork. Maryland has a guy Cox running for governor, and he accepted money from the Proud Boys. These guys have no shame. And so I keep wondering how this is going to pan out. Are we going to find Americans are strong or weak? Are we going to find they are in percentages other than squeaking through, 49, 51, this kind of stuff? Are we going to see that people recoil from those who are anti-Semitic, against others for whatever reason, are pretending to be available to everybody? What are we going to see at the polling place? Our leaders are not making it easy, because leaders, by example, even more than what they say, teach what others should do. And it's not easy to live what you say you're going to do. We see it all around us. We ignore the Constitution. All the religions ignore the precepts of their religions. There are exceptions, of course, yes, but I always test the political Christians by asking them, so, you believe in the Sermon on the Mount? And you'd be surprised. Just try it yourself. Oh, no, we couldn't do that. Only Jesus could do that. I said, so you think he was joking when he said, if you don't do these things, you're not going to heaven, you're going to hell. Well, Jesus said a lot of things, and they ignore the fact that these sayings were written down 100 years after Jesus died and resurrected. So we're in a peculiar time. It would make a strange movie, except we're living it. It's real. It's not a fiction. And so we are bound to do the one thing we can do: vote. Vote, 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 and tell your friends and your family. And if you feel tired that day, if you haven't voted remotely by mail, then find the time, sometime during the day, to vote. It can make a big difference this time. We saw in Kansas a surprise vote. Years ago in Virginia, there was no indication in the polls what was happening, but there was a shift against the Republicans. And then I believe it was because of the bitterness and hate and the spewing and the lies that were happening in Virginia. And I think that kind of reaction, a combination of how are you guys destroying our government and how about what you're doing to women. And the women issue is like saying, instead of anti-Semitism, it's anti-feminine. Instead of we're all in this together, yeah, if we're white and male and have property and believe certain things in what we call a faith instead of a cudgel against others, to trim their sails and act accordingly. So that's a couple of my thoughts today, and I'll probably be out tomorrow. And I'm in my cathedral of trees, and they're just gorgeous, although they're losing a lot of leaves. Bye-bye.